The News at 5 on 2 Works For You starts right now.
We begin tonight with an update to breaking news. An officer-involved shooting in Tulsa. Police shot 46-year-old Nathan Boyd in the neck last night after they say he got out of his truck at an East Tulsa Quick Trip with a gun in each hand. They say that Boyd also made a call to a Veterans Crisis Hotline saying he wanted to be killed by a police officer. Tonight, we can tell you he is in critical condition. 2 News working for you tonight with live team coverage. We're going to begin with 2 News anchor Max Resnick. He's been talking with folks from the Tulsa Police Department about what they do in these situations with their protocols. Max?
Russell, whether a traffic stop or someone who is suicidal, Tulsa police tell me every situation is unique. And for that reason, they say that they have no set protocol when they're dealing with an individual who wants to commit suicide by cop.
We do have training. You said specific. Every situation is different. We can't draw up a scenario and say it's going to happen this way 100% of the time.
In this instance, police say 46-year-old Nathan Boyd made a call to a Veterans Crisis Center claiming he was armed and wanted to die at the hands of police.
This individual, we received information, as I said before, that this individual intent was to draw officers in some type of confrontation where they would be forced to use deadly force.
That call made around 8, according to Officer Demita Kennard, and a search for the man that ended shortly after 9 Tuesday night.
Officers in the area located the vehicle. The vehicle pulled into the convenience store, and when the officers gave him commands to get out of the vehicle, he wouldn't respond. He eventually exited the vehicle, but with weapons in hand.
And with BB guns that looked like semi-automatic weapons, an officer fired one shot, hitting Boyd in the neck. Though cases of suicide by cop are fairly common, Ashley says there's no protocol when it comes to this kind of suicidal subject.
So every situation is different. There would be no way to put, you do X, Y, Z, because every situation will be different.
Ashley says Tulsa police do undergo mental health training, which does involve learning about people who are suicidal, but reiterates that no specific protocol exists because every incident is different. Coming up tonight at 6 o'clock, we'll tell you who this officer is and where he is tonight. Live in East Tulsa tonight, Max Resnick, 2 News works for you.
All right, Max, thanks. And you may be surprised to find out just how significant a problem it is when it comes to veterans committing suicide. According to the Mental Health Association of Tulsa, there are 22 veterans a day dying by suicide in our country. They say it's an issue that's under the radar for most people, but people need to understand it's not that unusual. The VA in Muskogee told us today that the call to them did not go to their call center, but rather a VA call center in New York. But when calls come in to the VA, they say they do everything they can to help.
One is we're always trying to identify if someone is threatening to hurt themselves. We want to find out their name. We want to find out their location.
Now, signs of a suicidal person include loss of interest, depression, sleep disturbance. Some of those signs coming up in about 10 minutes. We're going to talk with Michael Brose, the executive director of the Mental Health Association in Tulsa. Talk more about this issue, go in depth, find out what's being done to help and roles that we can all play to help these situations from escalating towards suicide. All right, also today, new at 5, charges have been filed against a man accused of kidnapping and raping a 12-year-old Glenpool girl last year. Kevin Smith is charged with rape, oral sodomy, and lewd molestation. Smith is also suspected of trying to abduct 2 Tulsa girls from a lemonade stand earlier this year. An update now to breaking news that we first brought you on KJRH.com. 3 Oklahoma courthouses reopen after evacuations due to threats. The Grady County Courthouse in Chickasha, the Cleveland County Courthouse in Norman, and the Creek County Courthouse in Sapulpa were each evacuated this morning. They all 3 opened right before noon. No one was hurt. Creek County Sheriff John Davis says there's no indication that the threats were related. Well, in Claremore, a recent murder trial turns into a case of jury tampering. Authorities say that during the trial of Vance Wright, Christian Allen Cargill approached a juror and told him to vote not guilty. A warrant has now been issued for 22-year-old Cargill. The DA's office says that jury tampering is extremely rare.
I've been a prosecutor in Tulsa for 14 years, defense counsel for 10 years, tried probably 45 murder cases in my career. I've had problems with jurors in the past, but I've never had a juror tampering case in all of my career.
Authorities say they have an extensive camera system in the courthouse, and that incident was well documented. The murder case continued on and ended in a guilty verdict. All right, meteorologist Brett Anthony's checking traffic for us this afternoon. Actually, the sky's cleared up. The roads are pretty dry. Things should be good. How's it looking out there, Brett?
Yeah, just a couple of accidents that I've seen so far on our traffic system. We'll take a look at one here. There was one on Aspen near 111th, but that has now cleared up. So that's good news for folks out in Broken Arrow. Meantime, the north end of the IDL here on 244 going eastbound, if you were trying to go from Sand Springs over to Blue Springs, you'd get to about the downtown loop and then things get really slow. And that is all we have for traffic. For a complete look at your daily commute, check out 2 News Today each weekday starting at 5 a.m. Our forecast. Weather-wise, as Russ pointed out, the clouds have cleared out. You can see the sunshine reflecting off of the river, and our temperatures, thanks to the cloud cover all day, did not get out of the 50s. In Tulsa, 59 most of the afternoon. And we might have snuck up to about 61 degrees briefly, but that's it. 52 currently in Tahlequah. It is also 58 at Okemah. So our evening forecast, 53, mostly clear with an autumnal chill in the air through 7 p.m. Coming up, we'll take a look at the forecast. A series of cold fronts on the way. Russ, wait till you see how cold it'll be in the middle part of next week.
Uh-oh. All right, something to look out for. Brett, thanks. Well, Tulsa has 2 new city councilors. Last night, Connie Dotson beat incumbent Skip Steele to represent District 6, while Anna America beat incumbent Ariana Moore to represent District 7. Both incumbents served single terms on the council, and the winners say after the long campaigns and the close elections, they're ready to get to work.
It's great to see the hard work and all the effort from volunteers and supporters over all that time, to see it pay off.
Going up against a seated incumbent is always harder than going after an open seat, so I expected it to be more of a challenge. The gathering place.
Coming up on 2 News at 6, when America and Dotson will officially join the council. Also hear their plans that they have for their district. Well, President Obama admitting this afternoon that Republicans had a pretty good night last night after the long midterm campaigns and the elections last night, though he says he's still looking to push his agenda. President Obama does not believe yesterday's Democratic defeat was his fault.
Still, as president, I have a unique responsibility to try and make this town work. So to everyone who voted, I want you to know that I hear you.
He said he will work with the Republicans, but push his agenda.
What we're going to make sure that we do is to reach out to Mitch McConnell and John Boehner, who are now running both chambers in Congress, and find out what their agenda is.
Republican leaders are celebrating.
This was all about a direct rejection of the Obama agenda.
Incumbent Senate Democrats Mark Warner and Jeanne Shaheen hung on, but Mark Udall, Mark Pryor, and Kay Hagan lost their seats. Republicans Joni Ernst, Shelley Moore Capito, Mike Rounds, and Steve Daines took what had been Democrat Senate seats. Mitch McConnell will lead the U.S. Senate.
We'll see whether we can work with the president. I hope so. That's what he says, and we'll find out. With the view that maybe there are some things we can agree on to make progress for the country.
Republicans will push the Keystone XL pipeline. On immigration, President Obama might still issue an order that undocumented young people can stay in the U.S.
The election doesn't really change anything. Latino voters expect that the president will now use that power.
But that move could mean war with the much stronger Republican Party. And the president says he wouldn't mind to have some bourbon with Mitch McConnell. But Mitch McConnell, the new Senate Majority Leader, warned that any presidential order on immigration would be like waving a red flag in front of a bull. NBC Nightly News will have more on all that. Also, how much more money President Obama wants to fight the Ebola outbreak. Well, today, American Airlines passengers here in Tulsa are flying high at a new and improved facility. The gates at the north end of the Concourse A opened after 10 months of renovating and modernizing the terminal. There are new restrooms, seating, and a skylight in the ceiling.
You know, travel can be sometimes a stressful experience, and so anything we can do in terms of design, we're going to try to do to make our customers feel more comfortable.
Now construction crews will begin work on renovating the south end of the concourse. Passengers, by the way, paid for the renovation project through an extra $4.50 fee that's added to departing tickets. There's new technology that hopes to boost fraud protection for credit and debit cards. It's just started showing up in the United States. 2 News problem solver Jamil Donath has been looking into it and why these cards may not be offering that protection for some just yet. Jamil?
Well, Russ, this is an EMV card. It's like a digital fingerprint. It has this microchip on the front left-hand corner, and what it does is it encodes all of your personal data and then creates a unique code for every transaction. And this little security system promises big protection, but also comes with big problems. Fraud protection of the future, a security system right on your credit card.
I'm all for it. Any steps that we can take.
All cards should be like that then.
In the United Kingdom, the National Retail Federation says these EMV cards have reduced fraud by 75%. But here in the U.S., bank card fraud has increased 70% since 2004. So now the U.S. is finally catching on.
I think anything that they come up with to help protect the public is a great idea.
So it sounds like a foolproof fix, right? Not so fast. While U.S. banks have already started issuing these cards, most retailers don't have the technology to read them, mainly because readers cost thousands of dollars.
Bob's Bait and Tackle is probably not going to be real likely to go do that.
But if businesses don't upgrade to the new system by October of 2015, those retailers will be responsible for the cost of any fraudulent charges. That's because of a change in liability law.
It's better for the credit card companies because right now they foot the bill whenever there's fraud done on your card.
And don't assume the chip automatically works. You may have to activate it. Many people who have these smart cards don't even know how to use them or even what they do.
I don't know. Hopefully it's like a security thing, I would hope.
The credit card companies are working in good faith to try to reduce fraud. Unfortunately, it's not quite there yet.
So credit card companies have set a deadline for October of 2014 for all cards to be upgraded to this new EMV system. But of course, nothing is foolproof. Already there are technologies that can hack into this little chip here. And we have more information on what banks and credit card companies offer this technology already. You can visit our website at kjrh.com. Live in the newsroom, Jamil Donat, 2 News Works for you.
All right, Jamil, thanks. Hopefully they'll be able to solve all those problems. Well, continuing coverage of last night's officer-involved shooting here in Tulsa. When we come back, we're going to talk with a mental health expert about just how significant the problem is, what can be done to help, and what can be done to prevent these situations from escalating.
And weather-wise, we are looking at 3 cold fronts headed our way. Each one will keep us chilly, but the third one will be the strongest. We'll see that in your Storm Shield forecast. See this, though, going to break. City Tudor, a picture from Lake Ouachie.